And welcome to the Lapani Technologies podcast. I am your host, Brandon Lapani, and what a wonderful show we have for you here today. First of all, I just want to say we have to obviously get our plugs in here. You can follow me at Lapani Tech on Twitter, as well as you can also follow us at our blog, allamericancomputerrepair.com/blog, and you can find our white papers on our Lapani Technology site under White Papers, and all of our other podcasts as well on the Lapani Technologies website. I'd like to also say you can check out all of our products for sale on our eBay store at www.aacrstore.com. And what a wonderful show we have for you today as far as information goes. We're going to talk about Packetfence a little bit. Packetfence is a bring your own device implementation a lot of people are going with nowadays. We've actually done a Packetfence install just recently, within the last couple of weeks. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is you go to www.packetfence.org. You can find that product, fabulous product, by the way, relatively inexpensive support as well if you need support on the product. We've actually done the install ourselves, but we actually did have to call for support on a couple of particular matters with this product. It's a little bit of a bear to install, but once it's installed, it's pretty much just it just works, which is really, really great. It's like, so when it comes to installing Packetfence, there's a couple things you need to first understand. Is one, it runs on top of CentOS, Red Hat. I did, however, do my test environment, try laying it on top of Debian, Ubuntu, I think it was the other OS I tried. I think it might have been SUSE, and it doesn't work as right on top of those OSs. It's really designed for more of a Red Hat RPM cent type of thing. So I would recommend running it on there. Now, the key to setting up a Packetfence server is, first of all, the network setup is your first thing. If you're going to use VLAN enforcement, there's inline and VLAN enforcement. I recommend using VLAN enforcement. It's much better. You need a pretty beefy box to run inline, obviously, because everything's going to go through the Packetfence box. And if you're running it inline as well with your content filter, that could be a bit of a problem. What I recommend is, if you do have a content filter, set up a pack file, and we'll get to that as far as browser settings here in a minute. But what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to set up a open SSID or one with WPA on it. Or WEP. It really doesn't matter as far as the SSID goes if it's open or not, because there's going to be a registration process involved here. We'll get to that in a minute. But what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have you need 3 VLANs. You're going to need your wireless VLAN. Okay, you're going to need another VLAN for registration and another VLAN for, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be isolation. Now, what the registration VLAN is for is when people connect to the open SSID for your wireless, it's going to send them over to that. And what you're going to do is they're going to connect to the network, and then there's going to be a spot where they're going to need to, when they connect, it's going to tell them need additional information. When they open up any of their browsers, whether it be Chrome, IE, Opera, whatever they're running, they're going to connect through, and they're going to get to a particular window where they're going to have to enter their username and password. Now, when you set up Packetfence originally, you're going to need to bind it with Microsoft Active Directory. I have not done an install yet where anybody has Novell. I'm sure it's possible, but I haven't done that. And but there's what I'm going to do. I'm going to include the admin guide with this podcast as well, depending on the setup you want to do. But I think I know it can do Novell, but I haven't had the privilege of working with it yet. But and what they're going to do is enter your username and password. There you can put your AUP, your acceptable use policy. We're actually going to be doing a blog post on AUPs eventually. We just haven't got around to it yet. And what you're going to do is you're going to want to put in your information in there and username and password, and you're going to hit OK, and it's going to register that device. Now, there's policies in Packetfence itself that you can actually use to restrict devices depending on OS, depending on Windows updates, depending on antivirus, stuff like that. I'm still in the midst of this in my test environment, so bear with me. But what you're going to want to do is the device will register, then it'll kick the device off, and it'll reconnect on your wireless network. Now, in doing the switch configuration, you're going to need 2 NICs in that Packetfence server. One NIC is going to be connected to your isolation. One's going to be connected to your registration VLAN. You don't need, and they're going to have to be tagged ports, by the way. And you're not going to want Packetfence doesn't need to know what your wireless network doesn't even need to touch it. So you're going to want to do that. Now, the thing is, once people get on Packetfence, here's where the issue with the content filtering I've noticed has come into place. You're going to actually have them put your proxy settings or your pack file into their browser to be able to let them out. Now, there are ways to do it. If you want to stand up another Active Directory server, inside your VLAN, that's up to you. I recommend Packetfence can dish out the IPs. That's another way to do it. It really depends on really what you want to do as far as how you want the setup to be done. But one thing I do recommend with Packetfence is run it in a test environment first to really get the hang of it. It is kind of a pretty complex project. It does support tons of switch architecture, and it does support tons of AP architecture. So what you're going to do is you want to make sure that you're familiar with the product before you roll it out, because it can kick everybody off the network if not set up properly. And again, we are able to do it. So if you have any questions or anything like that, like I said, you send me a tweet at LaPandyTech, or you can go on our website and send me an email, and I'm more than happy to help you out with that. But again, it's a really great product, very stable product. I've worked with it a little bit. It's actually cheaper. I've actually worked with other products like Bradshaw Networks and stuff like that. Their products run about $10,000 for a decent install and $20,000 for some of the others. So what you're going to want to do is, like I said, it's generally an inexpensive product for what you're getting. But again, it really depends on how. I would recommend it, but I like it. It's open source. It's free. If you can get the setup done on your own, you're saving a lot of money there. But it really comes down to what you want to. Really what you want to spend, how you want your network to be set up. Like I said, I don't particularly care for Bradshaw. I think they're overpriced, and it's almost the same product as Packetfence. So, but Packetfence is a great product. It definitely does its job. Runs on CentOS. So if you actually get it to run with CentOS and Packetfence itself, you really think you have it's really not going to cost you anything if you want to think about it, except for a support contract if you actually want it. And that's one thing great about open source. You definitely cut your price down. Imagine running bring your own device project with not having to put out any money for any OS or any software. So something you definitely want to think about. A great product. Like I said, we can help you out with the assistance of an install if you need. The other thing that I wanted to talk about today, if everybody follows my blog, which I know a lot of you do, is I want to talk about browser encryption. And the reason I talk about browser encryption was because as we all know, I'm not a big fan of IE, integrated OSs, IE or Safari, actually, for that matter. Has anybody read the news? You can find out that Internet Explorer has a flaw that can track your mouse movements, and it's been around since IE 6. So it's been around since 2001, and the same vulnerabilities in IE 10. So we'll see how that turns out. Hasn't been released yet when Microsoft's going to fix it or not, but I would imagine they would want to fix something like that. So we'll see how that goes. There's some other, obviously, security news as well. Any of you know Cisco VoIP phone vulnerability allows eavesdropping remotely. So that's going to be a little bit different to see how that does. I would imagine that Cisco's going to want to patch that. They're known for the security. I'm going to imagine they're going to probably patch that pretty quick. Another thing, the other thing that inspired this whole the recent post, especially about encrypting your browser traffic, is Hotmail and Outlook, the cookie handling vulnerability. On Friday. It was determined that by THN Labs analyzed that there's a cookie handling vulnerability in the most famous email service, Hotmail and Outlook. By the way, they're not the most popular email service, by the way, it's Gmail, but that's besides the point. There's a vulnerability that allows attacker or hijacker accounts in a very easy way to just exploit and import cookies for any user on the system to attack systems, and even after log out by a victim. So pretty much after you log out, they can still log into your account using your cookies. There are different ways of stealing cookies. Last year in 2012, there was an issue, I guess, but that's what they found out. So, I'm not a big fan of Hotmail. I never was. I'm not a big fan of Yahoo either. I've gotten my account hijacked too many times. So if you're using those two services, you might want to be careful. And let me see. There is a couple other stories I wanted to cover. If anybody read the blog post, you read about the anonymous Egypt site takedown. I have put a list of sites that Anonymous has taken down. They've been taking more down, by the way, as well. I haven't updated that story. Probably should. They've been on a tirade taking down sites, so we'll see how that goes. I understand where I guess they're upset with what's going on in Egypt. And they're taking it out in their own way. Let's see what else. Some of the other stories in the news this week that were kind of interesting, as far as security news goes, anyway. Facebook helped FBI shut down a butterfly botnet theft of $850 million. That's U.S. Department of Justice said on Tuesday that there's been an arrest in 10 suspects from Bosnia, New Zealand, Peru, sites involved in a global botnet that has affected more than 11 million systems. The ring is said to have caused more than 850 in losses in large cyber criminal halts in history. So, Facebook helping out there. Microsoft did the same thing, they did the same thing not so long ago. They helped down, take a botnet. I think all the big companies want to take them down. I mean, they're definitely a pain from a security standpoint. So the other thing is the Microsoft security bulletins, MS-12-077. All versions of my security update resolved 3 privacy reported vulnerabilities in Internet Explorer. That was one that just came out, as well as MS-12078 vulnerabilities in Windows kernel mode drivers that can allow remote code execution. That's up there. 1207 vulnerability in Microsoft Word could allow remote code execution. There's been a lot of those. That's not the first one, by the way. 12080 vulnerabilities in Microsoft Server could not allow remote code execution. There's another one too that allows. There's another vulnerability in Windows file handling component. There's a lot of remote code. If you ever noticed, there's a lot of code execution ones that Microsoft always has to patch. Just the way their product is designed. 12082 vulnerability in Direct Play could allow remote code execution, and then 12083 vulnerability in IP HTTPS component could allow security feature bypass. Now this is an interesting one because the security update resolves a privacy reported vulnerability in Microsoft Windows. The vulnerability could allow security feature bypass if an attacker presents a revoked certificate on an IP HTTPS server component used by Microsoft direct access deployments. The exploit vulnerability is an attack uses a certificate from a domain, IP HTTPS server authentication, logging on to a system inside an organization that would still require system or domain certain. This is an interesting one because this has been around for a while and Microsoft is just patching it now. So it's a little bit scary. The other one too, as well, there was an interesting one I wanted to talk about too. The Samsung Smart TV vulnerability. I'm sure some people have heard about this. It allows for the Samsung TV contains a vulnerability which allows remote attackers to swipe data from attached storage devices. Now, this is a little bit interesting as far as the as far as Samsung. We don't hear too much about Samsung. About security holes, but from them. But again, this is one that just came out recently, and it actually allows people to actually grab your stuff off your portable devices that are plugged into your TV. So it's something where you definitely want to. I'm not sure. I've played around with this a little bit, but not a whole lot, in the sense that I'm not sure if you can actually encrypt that device before you hook it up to your TV. I'm not really sure. It's one thing I might actually look into, talk about next week. By the way, Ghost Shell released data from exploited NASA, FBI, ESA. The registrars reported that the hacking collective Ghost Shell has announced that it has dumped 1.6 million accounts detailing government, military, industry stuff. The hacker group said in a statement, "We are prepared a juicy release of 1.6 million accounts recorded. Fields such as aerospace, banking laws, education, stuff like that." So, another one. By the way, being a Linux guy, I just want to let everybody know 3.7 released for Linux kernel released. And another thing too, there was some of the other things I want to talk about as well is as far as the zero-day hold for Samsung. Let's go back to that for a second. The company made headlines in October of publicizing zero-day holds in SCADA products. Announces it has uncovered remotely exploitable security hole in Samsung Smart TV, which is, if left unpatched, a vulnerability could allow hackers to make off with its owner's social media credentials and even spy on those watching TV, usually built-in video cameras and microphones, in an email exchange with security legend. The firm has said previously known zero-day hole in Samsung TV is still running, and Samsung looking to possibly patch it shortly. So, it is going to get patched, so that's a good thing. So the other thing I wanted to point out as well is there is a site on the internet called Infowars and PrisonPlanet.com talking about kind of a neat thing. In the news the other day, I wanted to talk about here today. Another thing I wanted to talk about as well here today was it was Infowars. It wasn't Prison Planet. Has an interesting article up. I'll probably put this up as long as with the post. Talking about surveillance cameras that by bypassing can also record conversations and heading for U.S. streets, with manufacturers admitting to it. This is an interesting piece here, by the way. It talks about high-tech streetlights with a Homeland Security app that are now being installed in major cities. The streetlights also have loudspeakers that can give audible warnings to individuals mimicking taking surveillance cameras in the UK. The microphone's telling people to pick up, pretty much picking up your conversations while you're walking on the street here. The built-in, this is actually a quote from the actual site. The built-in speaker can broadcast emergency information as well as smart site. Smart Site, I guess is the program, can be used to equip various camera sensors to ensure real-time 24/7 security coverage. The sensors detect a variety of threats that enable rapid response and emergency personnel to help prevent criminal gain control of the streets. So, pretty much what they're telling you here is they're listening in. If they see something, they dispatch somebody. So, it's kind of neat here. There's some other stuff as well on, there's one on Prison Planet as well, related to the same article, same publisher, by the way. It's just on a different site. Apologize for that. So again, that's prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. Most of you don't know the radio show called Alex Jones up on the internet. He broadcasts out of Houston. He's always talking about conspiracy theories and stuff, and he's always talking about security and stuff like that as well. Some of his stuff really does hit close to home, and he does talk about a lot of the things he talks about relate to security and people eavesdropping on your privacy and stuff like that. So it's a good show. It's only a couple hours a day, but it's a great show. I recommend it to anybody that any of our listeners that definitely want good entertainment. Like I said, I'm going to put this post up with the post so everybody can get a good read a little bit better on it and get a little more information. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about was the FreeBSD project. I don't know if anybody follows our blog, the FreeBSD project. They were actually crediting Slashdot. They got like $50,000 more in revenue as of when their article was posted on Slashdot about a week ago. But they're still down as far as the foundation. Let me just check their site right now. Actually, I have it up right now. They're actually at they're at $325,359. So they want to hit that $500,000. That's their goal. I posted a post up there on my site to help them out a little bit, see if anybody would be willing to donate. Again, it's free. FreeBSDFoundation.org/donate is the official site. I'm just trying to help them out a little bit. I'm a big Linux guy, BSD, Unix, stuff like that. So I'm trying to help them out. So if anybody listening, if you're willing to donate to BSD, we'd appreciate it. If it's only a few dollars, it'll help them keep the project free and open. I'm surprised Apple hasn't. As many people know, Apple is pretty much BSD under the hood. It's actually like a Darwin type of core, and Apple borrows FreeBSD's virtual file system, network stack, and components of the user space. So I'm surprised Apple hasn't gone as far as to donate. I know a lot of their BSD is built into their Apple OS X and OS X servers. So Apple's one of the first major computer companies to actually use open source products in their OS. So, but again, if you wouldn't mind, if you have a couple dollars to donate, I know it's tough around the holiday season, but again, FreeBSDFoundation.org/donate. So, but the other couple of things I want to talk about too. If you notice on our blog site, I know a lot of the listeners do follow the site. You notice too, lately we've been putting posts up from our eBay store. That's something new we're doing too. We're trying to get our eBay store indexed as well as we can. Any purchases from there obviously go to keep the business going, keep the funding for the blog site going, stuff like that. So I know could be a little annoying. I know also you see a couple of ads here for some for our we've talked about last podcast. We're trying to get some sponsors, and we actually do that too. We actually have Roku. They're actually sponsoring the podcast as well as the blog site now. So we can keep that going with great information for everybody. And also to audible.com. If you go to our site, click on it. The link, you can get one free download. And if you sign up for it and you click through our site, we actually get the credit for it. So we can keep these types of great podcasts and stuff like that going, keep the site up and running. It is a business, but we do, running the blog site and stuff like that is other added expense. So we try to get some financing to keep it going. But again, you'll see some of the stuff on our site. You might be interested. Like I said, our eBay store, aacrstore.com. But the other thing I want to talk about too is encrypting browser traffic. Now, this is something I've talked about a little bit, and there's another post I'm going to do. There's actually an add-on for Firefox that blocks Google from actually tracking your cookies. I haven't gotten into that a lot, but there is one post in there. I'm going to try to get to it this week. Been a little behind on the posting the last couple of days. Some stuff going on here as far as the business goes. It's tough when you're trying to keep a blog site up, as well as trying to run your business full time. It makes it difficult sometimes. What happens is with encrypting browser traffic. You always hear about people, they're trying to keep their banking information and all that secure, but they don't, the browser itself isn't encrypted. You have what I've actually found doing some research over the last couple of days is a lot of places use SSL, secure socket layer, in their security test in their security environment, which is actually kind of outdated. TSL, transport layer security, is the new standard for, typically it'd be using 1024 or 1248 preferably. And a lot of places aren't doing that. And if you're not encrypting your browser traffic, it could allow for, eavesdropping. And I know we've talked about in the past a lot, we talked about, two-factor authentication or two-factor authentication using three forms, but we haven't really talked about browser encryption too much. I'd recommend this on top of your browsing. I'd recommend, even if you're going to a secure site like Amazon or any of your banking information, I would recommend, just once you just throw, it doesn't hurt. There's an add-on here at EFF.org. It's an add-on here. It allows you to encrypt your traffic in Firefox. Chrome actually does encrypting browsing while you're seeing data. But this is also an add-on as well for their site. It allows you to encrypt your browser traffic, give you an extra layer of security on top of that. Especially when you're dealing, you're not saying you have to, not when you're just browsing the web, you don't have to do it. But if you are going to go to a secure site or something like that, or you do your banking or do buying online, I would recommend, encrypting your browser traffic a little more. I was just doing a lecture the other day on information security and people protecting their identity. As you know, our company does a lot with identity theft and stuff like that. But like I was going to say, what you want to do, I was just talking to you the other day, and they were talking about how they never put the credit card online. But then I was telling them, in the same sense, you're willing to give the waitress at a restaurant your debit cards. It's just misplaced fear is all it is. So that's just something I tell people all the time. If you don't put your credit card online, but you're more than willing to go ahead and hand somebody you don't know your credit card, and they can copy the information just as much as the person on the other end of the phone can copy your information. I actually tell people all the time, I think sometimes it's more secure to go ahead and go online, because this way you're only dealing, the computer information is encrypted, and only the people that are supposed to get to it can get to it. Whereas you're calling somebody on the phone, you're throwing an extra person into the loop there. So I always recommend using the online piece rather than calling somebody on the phone to give your card. I've always said a lot of times, when you call a place, a lot of the big places would say, call now. You call, you don't know who you're giving your debit card to. So I recommend, I recommend using the online piece rather than calling on the phone, because you don't know what that person on the other end of the phone is doing. You can't see them. You don't know who they are, but they are work for the company. But it doesn't mean they're all trustworthy. That's just me, by the way. That's just me being paranoid, by the way. One of the things I tell people all the time is, there's several encryption programs out there, layers of security for internet traffic. Businesses like banks and other online retail internet transactions, they implement encryption and decryption stages between their programs that uses the program that uses to access the internet service content. So, it's potentially safer to give your credit card online than just actually call somebody on the phone. Just my thoughts on things. I mean, it's up to you what you want to do. If you have any thoughts on that, by the way, you can send me a tweet, again, at LaPannyTech. But that's just me, by the way. One of the things too is with this podcast, we're doing a lot of interaction, and I like to really answer a lot of people's questions when it comes to their their security and a lot of stuff like that. And I actually got some messages from some people over the over Twitter and stuff like that. I've actually kind of blown away. How many people actually follow the podcast. It's actually kind of not only IT people, but actually just people in general that want security information. So it's kind of blown away a little bit. So I want to thank everybody right away for that. I really didn't realize how many people actually read the. I didn't realize how many people actually read the site. So. I want to thank everybody for that. I kind of, like I told you, I'm very blown away. I didn't realize there was that many people that followed the site. We're also actually looking right now into doing something with Talk Blogcast. There's also a Talk Blogcast up on the internet as well, where people can actually Skype in and do stuff like that. We're actually looking into doing something like that for the radio show. People can actually send us their questions and stuff right live while we're doing the show here, rather than afterwards, or so that's one of the things we're looking at as well, and possibly even a chat room on the site. It's all built in. Again, it's Talk Blogcast. I think it's Talk. I'm trying to think what the name of the site is. I'm going to look it up actually right now while I'm talking here. I think it's Blog. I think it's Blog. I think it's Blogcast Talk or something like that. I think. I have to actually look it up, but I do have a bookmark somewhere. It's Blog Talk Radio. There we go. That's the one we're talking about. That's actually what we're talking about. That we always that we're thinking about using. We actually do a live cast right from there, and everybody can actually tweet in and and call in even via Skype and stuff like that. So that's something we're looking at doing possibly. Send your thought on that, by the way, at LaPannyTech, Twitter. But we actually, like I said, we're kind of blown away at the amount of response we've been getting from the show. I didn't realize, like I said, I'm kind of touched. I didn't realize that many people actually listen to the show. So I want to thank everybody for listening. Some people actually setting some questions about security here. I want to share some. I'm not going to say who they are, but one of the questions here I had is, what do you think about what's the best security question to actually use when setting up an account? One of the things when you're setting up, questions, when you're setting up anything like an email address or anything like that, the security question to reset your password, you want to make sure you actually, do a good job of keeping that question answered. Make sure it's something personal, because, like your mother's maiden name, a lot of people might know that, or your dog's name, a lot of people might know that. What you want to do is you want to try to pick a question that nobody would know. And the other thing is too, like I tell people all the time, you want to be careful, especially with your email password. When somebody hacks your emails, then they can go to your banking account, say, as long as they can guess the security question right, they send you your email, a new password, and they get into your banking information. Something a lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't think about that. But one of the things is, is you want to be careful, especially try to pick a security question that nobody really knows, and try to make sure that you that you try to keep that information, that question especially, that question, safe, so that nobody gets to it, because that's something that a lot of people don't think about, is that how if you're going to use that security question, for your email, for any of your important information, you want to make sure nobody knows if they don't reset it. Don't pick something that a lot of people know. Another question I have here: if you think you have a virus on your machine, what do you recommend to do to get rid of it? Well, that's a good question, and I guess it's kind of a common question that a lot of people ask. The old saying is, if you have the flu, you can't go to the doctor and get the flu shot. Same situation here. If you get a virus or piece of malware on your machine, installing any type of antivirus software isn't particularly going to help you get safe, because obviously it's not going to, because you've already been your system's already been compromised. So now you have to deal with running a program like Malwarebytes, Spyware, or Spybot, Rootkit Buster. There's so many of them out there you can run and clean that off. Then put the antivirus software on there. Just putting it on is not going to clean off the problem, and that's something that a lot of people commonly don't realize. When dealing with a situation like that, you got to make sure you get that off. Then put the software on it. Trying to go through some of these questions, find some good. There are quite a few questions people tweeted me asking security questions. By the way, any questions you have, again, at our Twitter, Lapani Tech, we'll do our best to try to answer them the best we can. Going through here, a lot of people. I guess I'm very blown away at the amount of people that actually watch the show and listen to the show. We're more than happy to answer as many questions as we can. And like I said, thank you very, very much for following the show. Really do appreciate it. Here's another question that we got here too. When calling up for support, they always ask you to verify your identity. What are the best security questions for any call center? Under the DPA, Data Protection Act, companies and organizations are obligated to take responsible steps to confirm identity by telephone before processing with a call-related question. There are a lot of safeguards in this as far as, preventing people from calling and using false identities. But again, if you're on the other side of the phone, people can't call and identify you. They can't identify you via your driver's license or anything like that. So the companies have to do their best to try to make sure they keep your personal information safe. It's kind of built on a little bit of trust as well. So, some of the best questions I guess you could ask. The common ones, obviously, are what's your social security number? What's this, what's that? But I see that's the difference to me isn't safe. What there should be, and I know a couple of companies that I deal with do it personally, is a password you set up when you set up your account, and then only you know that answer to that question. The whole thing about, social security number, driver's license, anybody can, that information could be, somebody steals your identity, they got that information. They might not get the information for the other question that's set up. I know, like myself, for my Verizon account, I have one question set up with a password, and then another, on my cable provider, I have set up with a password with a different answer. I would say personally, the best bet is to try to work with the company to see if they can set up a security question for you, rather than using pieces of your identity to verify. That's just me, because again, somebody gets your security number, they can call up, and they might ask somebody, what's this question? Well, I don't have my driver's license in front of me. I'll give you the last four of my social, and they'll verify it. Very dangerous to have that type of situation set up. So what I recommend is try to get a private password set up with every one of these places, and make sure the password's a couple different choices, so you don't use the same one for everything. So in case somebody gets that one, they can't get to all your account. But again, that's just me. Most companies will do account number, reference number, contact number, telephone number. Some of them use, the postal code, date of birth, payment method, stuff like that. The payment method one's actually the worst one, because not only are they calling up, they know what your payment method is actually. I think I was reading an article the other day that 10% of people that call into for support are actually people that have other people's information and looking to get more information. So, like I said, security. The security questions I'm talking about, it's like a form of double-sided, what they call double-sided security questions that used to protect your information. Sometimes what I like personally doing two-factor authentication, where they'll ask you, they'll ask you a question they'll ask you a piece of information to verify, and then they'll ask you another piece. The security question. I think that double verification is really, really good. I think that's definitely probably the safest way for any call center to do it. But again, not all of them do it anymore. Especially your smaller places aren't always going to be, aren't always going to do it. But that might be a good topic, for next week, on online identity verification and phone verification. That might be a good topic for maybe next week's podcast. I can go on and on about that for hours. Again, we have a lot of experience with this at our company because it's mostly what we do is, a lot of identity theft and a lot of stuff like that. So we deal with a lot of skip tracing, stuff like that. So, but we'll do one more question here, then it'll be the end of the end of the question here. Just looking for one more good one. Oh, here's another. Here's another one. Actually, there's a question about last podcast, which is all available, by the way, LePain Technologies website. You can find all of our podcasts. But this is a question about last week. I'm talking about using a VPN. What are a good VPN solution? How can I use it? For home use, there's a lot of different VPN solutions you can do. I know Linksys actually has ones that you can actually download the client on your machine and VPN to your router at home, and then from there you can actually go into your online banking. Shrew has a good one for anybody that has a little more of a high-end router at home. Like some of the they have home like Juniper makes a home product, Cisco makes a home product. For $300 you get a pretty decent router, very secure. You can VPN through there using Shrew or using their particular clients. Be careful with I personally be careful with you got to be careful with they have pluses and minuses. Shrew's open source. You got to be careful with that one because you're going to create a VPN key, and then obviously you have your other one that's going to be the one for from the actual provider of your router. So that you want to be careful with that one too, because some of them they don't have keys like Shrew does. It's pretty much there's pluses and minuses to everything, as everybody knows. But like I said, you can actually VPN to your router at home and then do your banking from there. That might be your most secure bet. Like I said, Linksys I know does. I know Juniper has a nice home product. Cisco has one, but it's a little bit more high end. It's like Cisco's commercial. It's like Linksys' commercial version. That's might be a little bit high end for people. The Juniper one's pricey. I think it's like $325. But I know Linksys does it for relative reason. I think like your $60-70 Linksys router could do that. So you might want to go ahead and get one of them if you want to use a VPN solution on your device. That'd be the way to do it. So, but again, any questions on anything anymore that I can go on about, VPNs for quite a while as well. But again, a VPN, you got to be careful, especially with this whole vulnerability and PPTP coming out. That's something you got to be careful of. So, well, I think I'm going to end this podcast now. Appreciate all the questions. Any more questions, again, at LePain Tech at Twitter. Again, LePain Technologies, we're a full-service security company and, full-service, technology provider, consulting company, www.lepaintechnologies.com. You can follow us at our blog, allamericancomputerrepair.com/blog. You can also visit us, our eBay store, www.aacrstore.com, and see all of our products we have for sale right now. And I want to thank, by the way, Audible and Roku. Roku, obviously, streaming video player, used to play Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, all those types of stuff online. There's actually even channels on there for other podcasts and stuff like that, tune in, stuff like that. There's a lot of different things. So I want to thank Roku and Audible. Audible.com, like I said, click on our site, go through and download a free audiobook. I'm actually a big reader myself. If you have any books you like to read, you can let me know about them. I'm always willing to read a new book, good book. They're a great service. By the way, I want to thank those two guys for chipping in to help keeping this podcast going. I also wanted to encourage everybody, like I said, to use our services, lepaintechnologies.com, and I'm more than willing to provide you with any services or any thing you might need as far as security. We specialize, like I said, in security and in Linux products and Windows products. So if you'd like to go ahead and use our services, like I said, lepaintechnology.com, we can give you a free quote And I want to thank you for listening to this podcast. And I wanted to thank everybody, and we look forward to talking to you all next week. Thank you very much. And if we don't talk to you before the holidays, enjoy your New Year's and your Christmas.